Hi there, hello, hi. I do sincerely, honestly apologize for the amount of time it's taken for me to get here. I actually had this recorded before, very long time ago. And in the process of getting the new computer, the audio files got lost somewhere. I don't know what happened there. But it actually gives me the excuse and the reason to re-record this, because there were several mistakes in the original recording and things that I changed my mind on and that I didn't have enough research on or enough gameplay experience on, so I couldn't talk properly about it. If you know me, if you know the channel, the project, you know this was supposed to be a very long video, and it will become a very long video eventually, outside of the long video of this part, of course, but there will be a long compilation of the 8 Mario Kart videos. Only 8. I can't cover Tour because my phone can't run Tour. Yeah, I know. And I couldn't find a way to emulate the arcade games, so maybe I'll talk about those some other time. But for now, this will be split into parts, a video per game, which is probably what I should have done in the first place, but just the idea of having it all together was really interesting to me. But the reason why I now chose to do it in parts is because of Mario Kart 8. Funnily enough, the Definitive Edition, Deluxe, is getting DLC, so it's no longer definitive. And the DLC is ending in 2023, so better get the first 7 parts out now while that gets DLC. So, let us begin, traveler. You should sit down, you should get some milk, get some chocolate milk, get some food. Either you're watching this part 1 or the compilation. Yeah, sit down, get comfortable. We're going to be talking here for a while. We're going to be in here for quite a while. But let's just begin. Let's just start with Mario Kart, shall we? Oh, Mario Kart. I feel like everyone has to have played at least a single race out of all the games there are, right? If not, let me just briefly explain what Mario Kart is. Mario Kart is a racing game, a party game. It features our lovable Italian New Yorker Chris Pratti and his friends. And enemies too, funnily enough. I never understood, I never got that. But yeah, his enemies, even since the first game, which we will talk about. That's crazy. And the series actually expands all the way from 1992, making this game 20 years old at the time of this recording, 2022. Which is crazy, honestly. 20 years of Mario Kart, that's just wild. It's just surprising. You can tell this isn't scripted at all. Well, let's focus. Let's check how it all started. Mario Kart came from the idea of racing games, of course. But Nintendo wasn't really new to that idea. Obviously, you have some NES racers that no one cares about, but F-Zero was the main Nintendo racer at the time. It didn't last for long, either there or nowadays. We really need a new F-Zero, Jesus. Yeah, I'm one of those guys. Yeah, F-Zero, the racer, but it wasn't really open to people. Like, yeah, it's very fun to play, it's very interesting, it's all that stuff. But it's not really a game that anyone can pick up and play. The speed and the idea that you just crash into everything, it's not very appealing for new people, for casual people. The casual people that tend to be attracted by Nintendo products. So Nintendo decided to make a racer a bit more tame, a little bit slower, a little bit more calm. When they were working on it and they were making the character designs, they actually realized the character really looked like Mario. So they were like, okay, yeah, let's make it Mario Kart, let's use Mario characters for the racer. Obviously, Miyamoto was involved and he was like, yeah, sure. And like in Smash, when he was like, and then he was like, oh yeah, sure. But yeah, Mario Kart had a very easy way of being developed. It wasn't really a crazy new idea. The craziest idea was the items, which we will talk about. They actually make Mario Kart more than just kart racer. So then, let's analyze the game that put us on the path to Mario Kart Wii. Chris Pratt Kart for the Super Nintendo. Super Mario Kart actually did quite well, which is honestly something I was not expecting for the first entry in a series. It did quite well. It became the 4th bestseller in the console, which is just... okay. I don't know how. Oh wait, it re-released in 1996. Okay, that makes a bit more sense. Okay, I get that. Nintendo bestsellers, they always get re-released, they always make more money. That's okay, that makes a bit more sense. But the game was very early on in the console, so that also helps to the idea of, you know, popularity. Along the lines of Mario, you know. Mario was quite big at the time too. Super Mario World had just released. So yeah, I think the Mario name is really important for this series, and it makes it go quite well sales-wise, critically wise, and appealing wise. Mario's just, you know, a jack of all trades. You see sport game, okay, but then you throw Mario in, it's like, okay, let's go. Mario has that appeal, you know, that very casual appeal, that very attractive appeal. You know, please don't take it into a physical way. Just don't. Friendly channel, okay? Family-friendly channel. Your kids should be watching this, okay? So be careful with what you're doing. Thank you. Obviously, a racer in the Super Nintendo console. It's not the most powerful hardware out there. Obviously, at the time it was. But obviously you can't make like 3D racers like you see nowadays, naturally. So what the game has is this very heavy focus on the Super Mario World aesthetic. Every race, every track, you can see it. Obviously it doesn't take the entire aesthetic from Super Mario World, but when you see something like Donut Plains or Mario Kart Circuit... Sorry, Mario Circuit. You can tell, you can very easily tell, yeah, this looks like Super Mario World. Which is fine, of course, it's totally fine. And I actually really like when Mario Kart references mainline Mario games. I actually really like that. I wish Mario Kart did that more, if I'm real, which I will get to in the later games. Mainly Mario Kart 64 and Wii, I have some really interesting things to say about those games. But let's focus on the current game now. So yeah, you can see the aesthetic, something like Donut Plains, Mario Circuit, even Vanilla Lake. You can all tell these are very Super Mario World-y designs. We'll talk about the track design itself later, so let me talk a little bit about the characters we have, because at the time, the Mario roster wasn't huge like it is nowadays. There were no yeah, they existed, but they weren't so mainstream, you know, the Koopa kids and all that, Lemmy, Morton, whatever the fuck. They weren't really... Oh yeah, family-friendly channel, by the way. They weren't really that mainstream, they weren't really that appealing to people. It was like, okay, yeah, why would I care about this boss fight that lasts 2 seconds? So the roster had to be very creative. You have your typical things, you have your Mario, your Luigi, your Peach, your Toad, your Yoshi... But then you start to run out of heroes, you start to run out of good guys, or people that you save, because you... Well, no, Peach was playable in Mario 2, that's right. So yeah, you run out of heroes. So what do? You turn to the other side, you turn to the bad guys. So yeah, you get a Koopa Troopa. Okay, it's one of the few designs that have legs. Makes sense, right? Yeah. Then, obviously, Bowser, he's the big bad guy, of course you have to put him in. He's like the second most important thing next to Mario. What do you do then? Okay, yeah, you got 7 characters. But 7 characters in a racer... What? Oh, I placed 7th last place. That doesn't sound right, does it? That sounds a bit weird, so you need an 8th character. We could use Donkey Kong. You know, he's the reason why Mario's so popular, that game, Donkey Kong, we could use that. Or we could just use Donkey Kong Jr. Let's use Donkey Kong Jr., why the fuck? Okay. I'm a very big Donkey Kong supporter, I'm a very big Monkey supporter. So I don't know why Donkey Kong Jr. specifically. But he never came back in any mainline game. I think he's on tour. But again, I can't run tour, my phone is kinda old, so I don't know. It's just so strange, like, yeah, I get it. Donkey Kong wasn't like... The Donkey Kong Country games weren't out yet, I get that. But you can still use regular Donkey Kong. Why Donkey Kong Jr.? Is it because he saves Donkey Kong from Mario? So you put him racing against Mario? I don't know, it's just strange, you know, it's very weird, but whatever. He's cool. The characters, you can tell by just looking at them. You don't have any stats, but you can see it, you can tell. There are different classes of characters. Again, 8 characters, you got your 2 heavy characters, which are obviously Bowser and Donkey Kong Jr. Then you have 2 medium characters, which are Mario and Luigi, naturally. They are basically swap palettes of each other, so they might as well share the class. And then you have 4 lightweight characters. You got, obviously, the remaining ones, Peach, Toad, Yoshi, and Koopa Troopa. The differences here are basically, the light characters are faster, but they can get bonked harder. That means, like, when you get bonked, you can go off track easier. The medium character is like your average, can do everything sort of guy. That's why you see Luigi, not only because I love Luigi and I think that he's the perfect man. He's average and I'd rather deal with no nonsense. I'd rather have average speed, average handling, average blah blah blah. Yeah. Great points. And then the heavy ones are a bit slower, but obviously they bonk you harder, they have, I believe, better handling. From what I've seen, they seem to be handling themselves better. They don't turn so fast that you just go off course. I did try each character off screen, that's why you won't see them in the footage, sorry about that, but that's what I felt control-wise. It was easier to turn around with the heavy characters, while the light characters were faster, and the medium is a jack of all trades, like Mario and Luigi, the palette swap, the perfect man. So yeah, we talked about where you race, basically, who you use to race, so let's talk about how you race. You get the 2D simulating a 3D environment. Obviously you can tell these tracks are in 3D. They are using the F-Zero technology basically to simulate 3D, so you can see ahead of you, but this is still all 2D. You can tell by the backgrounds, you can tell by the environments, you can tell by the hazards, you can tell by the character models. Well, character sprites, not models. You can tell by the items, everything is 2D. Obviously, this is very impressive for the hardware, it's very colorful, very detailed for the Super Nintendo. If it were trying to push 3D like Star Fox did, if you played Star Fox, you know the frame rate isn't the best thing out there. So I think this choice was the better one out of the two. Instead of just pushing 3D, I think perfecting the 2D racer was a better idea. So I commend that. I think that was the better choice. So good job, Nintendo, good job. It's not the best idea for racing though. Like, it being 2D, it makes it a bit uncomfortable to race, because you can't really see ahead that well. Especially with the limiting technology of the Super Nintendo. You can't see that well ahead. Some environments can clash a little bit, which makes you bonk into certain walls. That's something that happens often, but that can happen. It's a bit distracting. You mainly in the Buu races, in the Buu tracks, the Banshee Walk, as I call it, even though that's not the name, but that's just Mario Kart 64 name, so I'll stick with that. You can see the holes sometimes. They blend into the walls, so you fall off, and you know, you lose coins, you lose track, you lose positions and all that. It's not perfect, but it's the best they could have done at the time. So, it works. It could be a lot better, but at the time it works. I think they did it very well, overall. Another limiter of the hardware, of course, is the idea that you don't really have that much variety in terms of the track design and the track layout. You really can't go beyond a grid, maybe a few jumps here and there. And the design of the tracks, like the layouts, the backgrounds, they're all very similar. You have like 5 Mario circuits, 3 donut planes, 3 vanilla lakes. It gets repetitive. Obviously they couldn't do more, because again, hardware. But it gets very repetitive. They didn't have another choice, but I have to mention this. It's very repetitive. They all blend a little bit. I honestly have a hard time sometimes telling between different Mario circuits or different donut planes. So it's not really a very interesting game to look at while playing. It's impressive, but it's just not that interesting. A lot of repetitions. Repetitious track design. A lot of repetition. Render distance is also very limiting with the 2D. So sometimes you just don't know where to go unless you are looking at the map, which I will talk about in a little bit. But it's very difficult at first. You get used to it very easily. You just race a few tracks and you get used to it. I got used to it very quickly. And I'm a big Mario Kart 64, Mario Kart Wii player. So going back to 2D, it was a bit jarring at first, which I will also mention later down the line, but it's something you can deal with. So don't be scared. Just be ready to be playing several Mario circuits, several vanilla lakes, and so on. But I mentioned there was something beyond just racing in this game, and of course there is. Because otherwise it would just be a normal racer and it wouldn't be as popular or as approachable as other racers. At that point just play Sega Racer 3D on the Genesis or something. I don't know if that game exists. I don't think that game exists. But whatever, just let it slide. So, Mario Kart has power-ups. We all know this, right? Nowadays we all know. You know, Blue Shell being the most infamous. If you definitely despise, like you actually hate the Blue Shell, this game's perfect for you because it doesn't exist. I don't think they would have been able to do that in this hardware, but whatever. It doesn't exist, so if you don't like the Blue Shell, play this one. But the power-ups we do have are the typical power-ups you know nowadays. You know, the mushroom to give you a boost. Although, at first it's a bit confusing to use. Not a big deal, don't worry. I'm not going to say the mushroom is objectively bad or anything like that. But in every Mario Kart game you have a visual indicator that you're using the boost. Here you just go faster, which can be a bit odd to control as you're using the boost, but other than that, it's actually one of the better items in the game. Then you have green and red shells for offensive purposes, you know, hit the one in front of you, or behind you if you're only with the green shell. In this game you can only shoot the green shell behind you, not the red shell. That's going to stay for a few more games, but at the moment it's just green shell. And so the green shell is a bit defensive too. Red shell's traction, that's something I always care about and I always like to talk about. How the red shell homing abilities are used. In this game, they're a bit too precise. What I mean by that is the idea that if you shoot it, instead of following the character you're shooting at through the road and what they did, the red shell will just turn. Like if they see, oh, the character is beyond this wall, instead of doing the road and catching up to the character, they will just try to break through the wall, which obviously can't happen, which makes the red shell wasted. Other than that, if you don't have a wall in the way, the red shell works just fine. It works as you expect it to. Just be careful where you shoot it, don't shoot it if there's a wall between you and your objective, because the red shell will just disappear. Well, not disappear, it will crash into a wall, but it will be useless, is what I mean. Then you have bananas. Again, forward, back throw, offensive, defensive. They're chill, you know, they're bananas. Then you have the feather, which is a very unique item compared to all the other items, because this one didn't come back. Ever. It is for Mario Kart 8 Battle, but in terms of racing, no, it never came back. It basically lets you jump really high. No, not jump like you're about to drift, jump real high. It makes you, you know, jump over walls, jump to get shortcuts, which makes this power-up very situational. You don't really have a lot of use if you are just racing normally. This power-up is basically the shortcut chaser. If you can see a way to shortcut, this item is perfect for you. If not, it actually doesn't help at all. You don't get a boost of speed, you don't do anything, you just jump high. You might even lose the speed you have if you just use it randomly. So be careful with that. So I think this item is the most contextual item in the games. Then you have the lightning. I think we all know what this one does. It's mainly an item for when you're really behind. It's a catch-up item, and it's the most catch-up item you will get in this game. No bullet bills, no golden mushrooms, no nothing. Just mushroom, and this one are the ones that are definitely useful for you to catch up. Lightning shrinks everyone in the track, except you, of course. This is not the Cloud, this is not Mario Kart Wii, don't worry, you're safe. The lightning shrinks all your opponents, every single one. And the lightning actually lasts quite a while, which is something that caught me off guard. Typically, it lasts a few seconds. This one I think I counted to like 15 or 20, which is surprising. And everyone, I believe everyone grows back at the same time. It's not like in the future games where, depending on your position, that's when you grow back up. I think the effect lasts the same for everyone. So this is definitely the catch-up mechanic of the game. Then you have something honestly, I'm sorry, I wasn't a big fan ever. Coins. The idea of coins is that you're picking them up through the track or through the question mark panels. Yes, panels, not question mark blocks or boxes. Hardware, you know. I didn't expect them to have the boxes. It's just really funny to see them on the ground. Thing is, you can get coins through your items too, which makes it's not entirely worthless, because you do get faster the more coins you have, and you can have a fuckload of coins. It's not like Mario Kart 8 when you can just have 10. No. You can have like 30 something coins. It's crazy. So you go really fast. They're not entirely worthless, but it's just like, okay, I'm vulnerable. What do? I don't know. I don't have a defensive item. So coins are just a tricky bunch. You know, it's like you get faster, cool, marginally faster. But then you're fucked if you catch it through an item panel. And the thing is, coins do disappear from the track once you grab them, so you can't re-grab them in the second lap. So I think that's why they're also in the panels, so you can always get coins. But I think this isn't one of the better ones to get through the panel system. So be wary of that. If you get coins, be prepared to get hit, because you don't have any way to defend yourself. Unless there are walls. Walls are your friend. Then there's the Buu Item, but that's exclusive to battle mode. So I don't really have much to say about the Buu Item at the moment anyway. It's just really not that useful, because battle mode is 2-player exclusive, so if you don't have a partner, like me, who played this entire game solo, you can't really talk about the Buu Item, but basically you turn invisible, you steal your opponent's item, fine. In battle mode, that's fine. In races, it's more usable, but in battle mode, 1v1 is just okay, I guess. So, yeah, that's an interesting pool of items for your first game. You got some not that usable items, some average items, and your clutch items when you're last. But don't think just because you have these items that you're just no skill. I think this is the Mario Kart game that requires the most skill out of every Mario Kart games. So again, as I mentioned before, there is no bullet bill, there is no golden mushroom, there is no nothing that will harm the top players while you are bleeding in the background. So you definitely need to catch up. The thing is, you will be able to catch up because of this little thing called rubber banding AI. I'm pretty sure if you're familiar with Mario Kart, you know what this does. But basically the idea is, if you're first for, you know, a while, with quite enough distance, you will be caught up. Like, computers will catch up to you. They will be on your ass. That's because they will suddenly speed up, so the challenge doesn't disappear. So you aren't just racing, just there chilling, you know. No. CPUs will be on your ass at all times. Mainly from my experience, it was Yoshi, Mario, and Bowser the ones that were on top. But when you're behind, the CPUs from like 4th and below, they will also slow down so you can catch up. But you have to use your items. You have to drift properly, you have to turn properly, you know how to accelerate, know when to use items. Just because their speed slows down when you are slowing down, it doesn't mean the game is just hands-free. You still need to have not a lot of skill, of course. I'm not saying you have to be a professional, but you still need to play the game. And when you're at top, you can't relax either. That's especially when you have to play the game. CPU, the rubber banding AI in this game is insane. Sometimes it doesn't happen. That's mainly when you have like 30 something coins. You're really far away and they're trying to catch up with the rubber banding, but even then the distance is still a bit huge. But rubber banding AI is very present in the game, so don't relax. Again, this game, you can't trust items that much. They're useful, but they're not the wacky turn everything upside down that they became nowadays. Not saying that's bad, of course, but it's a different Mario Kart game, you know. Speaking, however, about dogshit CPU, not only do they have rubber banding AI, but the CPUs can also use special power-ups that you can't really get. Well, except for the star. I forgot to mention the star, holy fuck. Okay, yeah, the star's also here. Invincibility, it doesn't really last that long. But yeah, it's here. But Mario and Luigi can just get stars. Like, I'm not even talking about they just go through a panel and they get the star. No! You're just racing randomly and they get the star. They go flashy, flashy, faster, faster, invincible, invincible, get fucking fucked. That's not fair at all. CPUs just have their own power-ups, and that's a power-up that gets recycled. The other guys, they get new power-ups. Peach and Toad get poison mushrooms, which slow you down. They basically work as bananas, but they have a new sprite. I think they last a little bit longer than bananas. DK, I honestly don't know what he does. He's always bleeding last, so I never see him. Yeah, I'm good. I'm a very good player, I know. It's just, he's bleeding last, so obviously the CPU won't trigger a random item there, because like, the idea is for you to catch up. Yoshi throws eggs, which are basically like green shells. But the difference with the green shells, and Bowser's power-up is also the same, but he throws fireballs. Both can stay on the track. You know how in modern Mario Kart, when you get hit, like let's say you're having a red shell on your hand, and you get hit, the red shell drops there and stays there on the road? That's basically what these power-ups do, they stay on the road, but they just fire it. If they miss, the power-up will stay there, even if the laps keep going. Like the render distance disappearing, no, it doesn't matter, the power will stay there. Koopa Troopa, I honestly don't know what he does either. I think he throws shells, so I guess his power-up is also recycled, but again, like DK, I never see him at the top. Like I said, Yoshi, Bowser, and Mario are the ones that I usually saw at the top, so that's the power-ups I saw the most. And are the most annoying power-ups too, because you're like neck and neck with Mario, he suddenly gets faster. You're neck and neck with Yoshi, he can hit you with something randomly. You're neck and neck with Bowser, you're behind Bowser, he fires the fireball. So that's not really fair to the player, because you don't have any way to get these power-ups. It's not like in Double Dash when you have your special item, and you have a chance to get it through the item boxes. These items are not in the roulette wheel for the human player. Outside of the ones that are recycled, like the star, but even then the star has not really a high probability of showing up. You have to be actually dying in 8th place for you to get a star. I don't know why, it just does. But other than that, all the other items are not useful for you, and you can't use them at any time. It's not like a meter, it's not like you're charging limit and you get an item. It's just never, you can never use them, you need an item panel. And some tracks have item panels only at the beginning or at the end of a lap. They are not really that scattered around, they aren't really that frequent in the later tracks. The tracks are small, to be fair, so you will be able to lap around in like 20-30 seconds, but that's 20-30 seconds with an item you won't have, while the CPU can just chuck out items randomly 3 or 4 times a lap. And that's very frequent. 30 seconds a lap, 3-4 times, 10 seconds an item that you can defend yourself with, against, fuck, yeah, It's not fair at all. The CPUs are unbalanced, both to the player and to themselves. Like I said many times, Bowser, Yoshi, Mario always at top. Yeah, isn't really balanced at all. With the rubber banding, okay, the rubber banding is a bit balanced. It's fair mostly. Sometimes, yeah, the CPUs just don't break, and sometimes the CPUs break a little bit too much. But it fairly works for the most part. These items, why are they here? No wonder these never came back. These items are very unfair to the player. Something I consider the most important thing in games. Like, some people say graphics, some people say level design, and that's all very fair. This is a very discussable topic, not right now personally, but what I think the most important thing, especially in Mario Kart, is control. How well does your character control? Whether it's lightweight, average weight, heavyweight, whatever. How does your character in the racer control? If it's too slippery, it's not really tight to control, it feels very loose, it makes you mess up. If it's too stiff, you can never turn, you have to brake a lot. It's not really comfortable to play with. So it's a very hard thing to balance, which I think Mario Kart is one of the best racers out there in terms of control. Obviously you have other things that make control very well too. You have your crashes, your Diddy Kong racings, your Gran Turismo, and ironically controls very well. I know not many people like Gran Turismo for some reason. I like it, I don't know. I haven't played one in forever though. Anyway. How well does Super Mario Kart control? Because, you know, Mario Kart 8, everyone says that controls beautifully, and I agree. But what about the first game in the series? What about the originator, the progenitor, the father of the Mario Kart series? As you know, the Super Nintendo controller, it doesn't have an analog stick. An analog stick for racing is very comfortable because you can just slightly tilt, so you slightly turn, or fully push, so you push a bit harder, you turn harder. That's great, that's basic 3D nonsense, that's perfectly fine. But in a 2D racer with a D-pad that doesn't really have a slight tap or full tap, you have to work around it. So how did they do? You basically, if you hold the D-pad, like let's say left or right, if you hold it for a few seconds, you basically drift. So that's where the control comes in. It's like, okay, I need to turn, but not super turn. So I'll tap the D-pad a few times right, so I can turn as I want to. And it honestly, it takes a little bit of time. In the original recording, I was very harsh on this. I was like, yeah, this control's like shit, what the fuck, this is unplayable. Now, I gave the game more time, I played the game a bit more, and I got used to it. It was a bit hard, because, you know, it's outside of Super Circuit. This is the only game with the D-pad and the 2D, and the tracks aren't really broad, so it's very easy to mess up. But it works. It's not the best thing to control out there. All the other Mario Karts control better than this. But it works. It's good enough. It gets a pass. It gets an okay. The turning is a bit stiff. But again, if you hold right, you will drift, which makes it completely not stiff. If you're having... You don't have that leeway. It's like, okay, I either turn too little or too fast and I crash. I think that slightly, like the first turn, the tap, 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 I think that works fine. I think that's the one you should be using the most. As well as letting go of the accelerate button a little bit when you're turning. I found that far more reliable than drifting. Mainly because drifting works differently from every other Mario Kart game out there. So, first off, let me explain how drifting works in all the other Mario Kart games. To drift, you basically hold one of the triggers, and you start to go left and right, and you get a little boost. That's basically how it has worked since 64. You know, the first 3D Mario Kart. You hold the trigger, and while you're holding left, right, so you don't spiral out of the track, and you go building this little boost. In Super Mario Kart, you don't have the boost, and you don't have to hold the trigger. Before your drift, when you press the shoulder button, you make a little hop, which helps to dodge a few items, by the way, which is very cool. So if you have the timing, jump over the items, that actually helps. I guess that's your most prominent defensive maneuver against the random CPU power-ups. But let's go back to drifting, just please. You do this little jump, right? But you have to hold it. It performs the jump, you hold it for a few seconds, and I mean 2-3 seconds at best. When you land back, that's when you go either left or right, depends on where you have to turn, and the drift happens. Do not hold the drift button. Fight your muscle memory if you are revisiting the game, but don't hold the drift button, otherwise you're just spiraling out of the track. You're just going straight to the grass. It was so hard for me to get used to this. It was fight against my muscle memory. It didn't work at all for me. I got used to it when I played Super Circuit. I actually went, okay, let's go back to Super Mario Kart and see if this works. And it worked a little bit better. Just don't hold it. Don't hold the drift. And don't do the left and right thing. That doesn't work. It's just one direction. Not the band. Just don't fight against every single Mario Kart instinct you have. Just don't do it. I don't think drift is that reliable because you don't get the boost. And you can easily turn and pick up your speed back up by letting go of the accelerate while you turn. It just lasts 1-2 seconds at best, so you don't really lose that much speed. You can definitely pick your speed back up. That's why I don't think drifting is really reliable. It helps to cut corners and, you know, get ahead of a computer while you accelerate if you manage to master the drift. I don't think I mastered it. I got better than what I originally did, but I don't trust this drift. I just personally can't use this drift. You can play the game perfectly without it. Obviously, if you manage to drift, you know, you're a Chad. If not, just piece of advice, when you're turning, don't fully hold it unless it's a really broad turn. Don't fully hold the D-pad and let go of the accelerate 1-2 seconds. And then you push it again and you go ahead. And that's my advice for turning in this game. Don't drift. I just don't think drift is reliable at all. I think it costs you more to learn how to drift than doing what I just suggested. Not saying it's a perfect strat, but that's the reliable way I found to race around. On the D-pad, with the drifting, it's not really precise, it's not really easy to control. You can get used to it, of course. It's not an easy way to pick up and just do it. The other games, mainly the newer ones, drifting is far easier, it's far more... It's easier to pick up. It's more approachable. This one is just no, just don't do it. If you have the time, do it like time trials, but don't go into this game thinking you will be able to drift properly like in the other games. Plus, you don't really have that boost reward, you don't get the boost of speed. You just turn better, which is a good reward, but I don't get the extra speed. I don't get the extra reward, like turning. Okay, I can turn in different ways. I drift to get a better reward. And that just doesn't exist here. So I don't see a point to the drift. So far we basically talked about where we race, who do we race with, and what we use during the races. But let's talk about what you race on, which will be basically the tracks, the track design itself. I talked about the backgrounds and all that, and that's pretty cool. But I did mention a little bit earlier how the tracks they sort of feel the same. You don't have that uniqueness each track has with 3D like they do nowadays, or even back in Mario Kart 64. By the tracks all being 2D, it gives you a lot of limitations, which again, it's the hardware, of course, they did the best they could do, I think. So you definitely have that limitation, but it doesn't make it less repetitive. The grids for the track designs, they are all very similar. The same way it works with the backgrounds, with the environment. It all looks the same. It's not the same, to be fair, and the tracks are definitely different, but they definitely blend a little bit together. I honestly can't tell you the difference between several of them, and maybe that's because I don't have enough experience with the game. Maybe some Super Mario Kart professional can actually tell you the difference between Mario Circuit 1 and Mario Circuit 3. But as a casual player, like someone who played it for the video, that difference isn't there, and someone who just plays it for the sake of playing it, I don't think they will be able to see it either. They won't be like, oh yeah, let's pick Mario Circuit 4, that's my favorite. Like, I don't think that exists for this game. You don't have that difference in track design like you do in the newer games, or the games even after this one. Because Super Circuit does have this, even though it's 2D. So they were definitely figuring stuff out with this one, but it makes it feel very repetitive. And it definitely feels more repetitive when you have 5 laps per track. Considering you have 5 laps, and don't get me wrong, it makes sense you have 5 laps in these tracks. The tracks are really short, and that's something you can tell when these tracks get remade in the newer games. Which is something I'll talk about like in Mario Kart DS, Wii, and so on. But you can tell, obviously these tracks are very short, you see it on the timer, it says like 20-30 seconds per lap. So you need the 5 laps, otherwise the track is really short, you don't get to experience enough of the track. But I think 5 laps makes it more evident how repetitive these tracks are, how uninteresting, and they don't have any difference between each other. That's very telling when you spend 5 laps in them. They're short laps, again, to be fair, they're very short laps, but it's very telling. I know it's a limitation of the hardware, they couldn't do more, but it's still there, so I have to, mention it. Not only that, like, lap difference in terms of the newer games, I don't really find it that odd. There are tracks with 2 laps, there are tracks with 7 laps, that's not really something that surprised me. What did surprise me though, which I don't think any other Mario Kart game does, is the fact that there are 4 cups, which that's typical. But then you have 5 tracks per cup, which was honestly very interesting to see. I honestly didn't have much experience with this game. I don't know if I talked about it before, but my first experience with the game, it was on a PS2. Yeah, the PlayStation 2. I've been on the yo-ho-ho side of things very early on my life. It wasn't mine. I do have a PS2, but the disc wasn't mine. It was a burnt disc that had the Super Mario All-Stars artwork. It was burnt into a PS2 disc. A friend had that. And they obviously had Super Mario All-Stars plus Mario World plus Super Mario Kart, so I guess they had the whole main Mario Super Nintendo lineup on that disc. I remember the emulation being fine, like maybe the sound was a bit washed out, but it worked. It was like a good entry to Super Mario Kart, and I didn't like it at first when I was a kid. And honestly, revisiting it, I didn't like it at first either. But now I can definitely tell you the 5 tracks. They make sense per cup. Like, they definitely wanted you to have a lot of bang for your buck, It's like, yeah, you're paying for this game, and yes, we have limitations, yes, we can't really be that creative, but you have a lot here, you have content here. So I think 20 tracks, I think that's a good amount for the Super Nintendo. Even though if the designs repeat themselves, even though the backgrounds are very similar, the names, like every track outside of like Koopa Beach. No, Koopa Beach also has like repeated. Every track is repeated. Like every track has a 1, 2, 3, like Mario Circuit 1, 2, 3, 4, Donut Plains 1, 2, 3, and so on. The only one is Rainbow Road because of course, Rainbow Road, it's very unique. It's the last track in the game for a reason. Very difficult. Between the controls, the items, the AI, and the track design itself, it's a very difficult track. Makes sense, of course, that's a Mario Kart staple. It will always be, better always be. I think the only non-difficult Rainbow Road is 64, which I'll talk about in the 64 video. I have a lot to say about that track. But yeah, each track in this game, going back to this game, it feels very, again, I don't want to repeat myself because I'll just become Super Mario Kart. But they all feel the same to me. They're good track designs, like they make sense in the Super Nintendo landscape. Like it's not like they're poorly designed or anything, it's just it's not interesting to race in. You can have a very good track, but if it repeats itself, if the layout repeats itself, if the background is the same, it's not really fun or interesting to play, if you ask me. Also, the idea with these tracks, you have shortcuts at times, which is great, like, you know, high risk, high reward. But I don't think that shortcuts are really that useful. They maybe cut down in one turn, which to be honest isn't really that big of a deal. You can just make the turn, hit someone with an item or something, or just speed past them. And you basically did what the shortcut would do. So I don't think the shortcuts are really that useful in the game. They are there, which is commendable. They're not really a big deal. It's not like, oh yeah, you get like a quarter pass of the track, like in, let's say, Maple Treeway, which is a tactical shortcut. You go last, but then you suddenly are third with an item from last, so you can have like a star in third place. There's nothing like that. Then obviously, you know, you're racing. Personally, I raced, as I said, everything by myself. But obviously Mario Kart is made for multiplayer. Like, one of the key things was F-Zero didn't have multiplayer, so we need a racer with multiplayer. Here you go. And I think you can tell this game was designed for multiplayer specifically. Because if you're playing alone, you still have split screen. But you don't have split screen like in the new games. It's like you have like a camera from different angles and whatever. Which I personally don't find that useful, but makes sense. If you're playing like 3 people, you need the fourth thingy there, otherwise it'll be unbalanced. Or maybe do something like Call of Duty does, that they managed to split the screen somehow in 3. I don't think that was... I think the third screen was a bit wider, so maybe they have more advantage, but whatever. Multiplayer is always present in this game. It's always there. You can tell you're playing alone, and the second screen becomes a map. It's a very detailed map, and I think that actually harms the game a little bit. It's very detailed, like all the sprites are there. And I don't mean like little icons like in the other Mario Kart. No, I mean like the actual sprite. It's very detailed, it's very helpful. But I don't think it's really that necessary. Maybe they couldn't make it so the code makes a full screen single player. I just think a regular map, something that allows you to see more of the map instead of the sprites. Given the angle, you can't really see the map that well. You can see it, but it's not really that useful compared to like other Mario Kart games. I'm sorry I compared this game to a lot of the other Mario Kart games. I just think it shows the progression. Obviously this is a starting point, but I think that shows the progression of how they managed to improve things. But this is how things are in this game, so I kind of need to talk about it, whether to shit on it, well, not shit on it, I'd just say I don't like it that much, or to say, wow, that actually works, and this has been done later in the future, so they don't change what isn't broken, and what is broken or can use a few tweaks, they tweak it. So I think that's pretty cool. But again, multiplayer is a key. So when you're playing 2-player, you get battle mode, which is what I talked about a little bit earlier. And the battle mode tracks are actually fun. Like, it's a bit hard to tell in a few places where certain walls are, because all of it is 2D. So you don't have that feedback, you don't have, oh yeah, there's a wall there. It can be a bit confusing at times, not really a huge deal, don't worry about it. It's not like, oh, this is unplayable, I'm always bonking into walls. But I think it's a bit difficult to tell sometimes, given the color schemes, or just the track design itself. But the tracks are fun, it's really fun to play the first battle mode. I actually managed to play it with someone. Just a few tracks, it wasn't like a big deal, we weren't that into playing it. But it was fun, it was entertaining, and it's battle mode. Battle mode's always fun, right guys? Mario Kart 8? Sorry. Split screen's always there. It's not really something you think is uncomfortable. I talked about the map, but let's talk about the actual screen you're looking at. It's not that bad, huh? Like, you think, oh, it's so crunched, it's so hard to tell. Not really. Like, not really at all, it's not really a nuisance at all. You get used to it very easily. It's like if you were playing on the DS, you know? Just the 2 screens are in 1 screen. It's a bit odd, I know, it's a bit odd. I honestly don't know why they did it this way. Maybe they couldn't make it so it just goes full screen. But it works, don't worry about it. It works. It just works. In terms of the cups themselves, like I talked about how each, like there are 4 cups, 5 tracks in each, 5 laps, whatever, okay. Obviously special cup being the toughest one. At first you have mushroom, flower and star, and you have 50 and 100cc. 50 being like easy mode and 100 being like normal or classic mode if you want to call it. And you have to go through each cup and get gold in each cup. So it's overall you have to place first place. And the animation for celebrating is really funny. I'm honestly surprised they got away with it for like a rated E game. They have champagne and they're like, oh yeah, I won. Like in typical racing, like in actual racing, like F1 and all those racing things that I honestly don't really know about, but they look really cool. They have like actual champagne, like in actual racing, which is very funny. That never came back in any other Mario Kart. I don't know why. Because it clearly didn't affect them in the rating. It's just really funny to see like Luigi with champagne. It's really funny. And they all have different animations too, which is quite cute. It's very charming. This game has a lot of charm, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier, but it has a lot of charm. So yeah, 50cc. You play mushroom, flower, star. Let's say you get gold overall, like you get first place overall in all of them. Okay, you unlock special cup. Okay, you play special cup. There it's where you have the hardest versions of Donut Plains, Koopa Beach, Ghost Valley, and Vanilla Lake. And obviously you have Rainbow Road. Again, hardest track in the game, makes sense. But then the thing is, and this happens, I believe this happens in every Mario Kart game, so let me just get it out of the way now. When you unlock stuff in 50cc, and it's not that big of a deal in this game because there isn't a lot to unlock, it will definitely become a problem in like Mario Kart Wii or DS. But here, when you finish and you get gold in all of them, it just happens for the 50cc. That means you have to replay 100cc, which is a bit harder, for you to get Rainbow Road again, Special Cup and whatever. I don't think this is like a problem, but I think it's a bit annoying. Like, I'm not saying it's just for the purpose of, oh, I'll just play easy mode and then never play again, because chances are I'll try the harder difficulties. Especially since you can unlock 150cc, which is the hardest difficulty in the game, basically. It goes super fast. For that you have to play 50cc, get all gold, 100cc, get all gold. I just think that if you played through one and got gold in either, you should have 150cc. Chances are players will try the 3 speeds to see what suits them best. So I think just unlocking 150cc after getting gold in all of them in one category, I think that was enough. But again, this isn't like a problem or anything, it's just, I think this could have been handled a bit differently. And so you give the player more options instead of forcing them to race in the other 2 speeds. They can just do it at their own pace. Just unlock and then let them choose. I think that's how it should have been handled, personally. But I don't think this is like a flaw or anything. It's just a different approach, I think. But speaking of difficulty, you really tell the difference in speed. Like, when I was a kid, I was like, oh, 50, 100cc, 150cc, what's the difference? But playing it now, it's very telling. One goes super slow, which makes the tracks longer, which makes the 5 laps a bit more repetitive than before. I played the game in 100cc in the footage, so what I said was based on 100cc. 100cc I think it's the best mode, it's the most balanced, it gives you the perfect amount of speed. I think 150cc is way too fast, for this game anyway. It makes it a bit too hard to control with the D-pad. I don't think the D-pad is ready for the reflexes you have to have at this speed. But that's, again, I think that's a bit too much, which they adjusted in the other Mario Kart games. I think 50 is too easy, and 150 is a bit too pushing. It's clearly for people that know how to play the game, which I don't, so that's definitely a me problem. But there is a clear difficulty spike between them, which makes sense, obviously, easy, normal, hard mode. But this easy, normal, hard mode is also present in the cups. Mushroom, flower, star, special. Special obviously being the hardest and mushroom being the easiest. However, there's this problem, I think, in the flower and star cup. their difficulty is ever changing in the cup itself. It's like, yeah, Choco Island, okay, then Ghost Valley 2. It's really hard, and then you go back to Donut Plains. It's like a roller coaster of difficulty. And in Star Cup you have Vanilla Lake thrown in the middle, and then Bowser Castle, and then a Mario Circuit to end it on. It's also like a roller coaster. It's really weird. Those are like the two cups that have the most ever-changing difficulty. I think Mushroom Cup is easy, it's like an intro, and Special Cup just demands all of you, which makes sense. It's the Special Cup. The other two, however, their difficulty is not like linear. It's very strange. I guess it's to keep you on your toes, but I don't know, I just wanted to mention the difficulty spike, not only between cups, not only between difficulties, but in the cups themselves. Like, something from Ghost Valley to Donut Plains, or Vanilla Lake to Bowser Castle, to Mario Circuit. It's a bit jarring. I will rearrange it a little bit. I will put like Mario Circuit before Bowser's Castle and Vanilla Lake at the end. Or Ghost Valley at the end instead of Mario Circuit 3 in the Flower Cup, something like that. It's a bit weird. Actually, revisiting this game, as I said before, I didn't have a lot of experience with it. I only played it on the PS2, which I think it's hilarious that my first Super Mario Kart experience is on a Sony console. The thing is, revisiting this with all the experience from the other Mario Kart games, I think the only Mario Kart game I hadn't played before this was Super Circuit and 7. I had played 64, Double Dash, DS, Wii, and 8. Going back to the original Super Mario Kart is very funny. It's very interesting. Actually, it's very entertaining. It's really funny to see what started, how the series started, and what it became later on in like 16 years. The changes between consoles is very interesting to see. It's amazing to see, really. Like, just Mario Kart 64, which is the game after this, just putting 3D is already a huge deal. But this first take, the 2D take, the take with the roster they had available, the take with the hardware they had available, the ideas they had at first, the commitment they had at first. How do I think the game pulls off overall? With its dogshit item AI, random pulling us fireball stars, invincibility, with its weird difficulty spikes between and inside the cups, with its not that bad controls, with its somewhat repetitive tracks. I think the game's worth giving a shot. If you can, I know this is difficult, I know it's really difficult, but if you can, play it with an actual SNES. I didn't do that personally, but I remember one time we did play it on an SNES, and it felt a bit better than when I tried it on my Microsoft Super Nintendo, which is how I got the footage. I think, yeah, and if you play it with a Microsoft Super Nintendo, don't use an analog stick, just commit to the D-pad. The game was designed for a D-pad, use a D-pad. I think the D-pad, it worked fine. They managed to make it work just fine. It definitely isn't the smoothest thing out there, because it just can't be, it's a D-pad. But I think they made it out. They worked it out fine enough, control-wise. The game itself, it's interesting to revisit only to see where it all started. Like, if you tell me, oh, let's between Mario Kart Wii and Super Nintendo, what will you play? No, Wii. All day long. Even though I have to say some things about Wii. And it is my favorite Mario Kart game. But I do have to say some things about it. It's just, yeah, I don't see a point to getting back into this one, because the tracks are remade in future games. What it does is remade in basically every other game and improved. If you want to give Super Mario Kart a shot, I would say play Super Circuit on the GBA, play through that, and then you actually unlock the Super Nintendo tracks there, which is something I will talk about later in the Super Circuit video. But you will get better controls, better items, a more sensical roster. And it's better visually too, it looks a bit more detailed. So, again, do I think you should come back to this one? Yeah, I think so, for the sake of like novelty and being like, oh my god, this is how Mario Kart started. It aged a little bit. Maybe. At first I thought you didn't need to go back to this one. But I think it's worth giving a shot, if you can. If not, you're not really missing out on anything. Wow, 1 hour, really, huh? Okay, sure. Yeah, thank you very much, guys. I'm so sorry this took so long, and this isn't even the full video I had planned. But yeah, this will be done in parts, like I said before. I said so in the intro, this will be done in parts because of the DLC for the Definitive Edition Nintendo. But whatever. So you can expect these parts to come out faster instead of the big video that it was going to be. My idea is to basically get through all the parts before Mario Kart 8 finishes, so I can dedicate my full time to Mario Kart 8. My idea will be to like 64 and all that now. That's my idea. If something gets in the way, I'll let you know. But that's the plan so far. So thank you very much for your patience. I'm really sorry it took this long. I know there are 8 games, I get it. It's just not fair to you guys. I'm really sorry. I just feel really bad when I delay projects like this. Because it's something I want to do. I don't think anyone said, oh, you didn't do it because you're bored of it. No, it's actually so much happened, dude. So I'm very happy this is finally out. And you can expect the Mario Kart 64 video sooner than this video came out. I promise. I'll get to work far faster in it. I'm really sorry. And yeah, you'll still get other videos. You'll probably get maybe stuck in other games, but you definitely get the typical videos. If you're new to the channel, you might tell through the channel that this is not the typical thing I want to do. Well, I want to do it, but it's not the typical thing you will see. But you can expect more videos like this, don't worry. It's not like I'm not baiting you into the channel or anything. But yeah, see you guys. Take care, stay safe. I can't wait to talk about Mario Kart 64. I have so much things to say about that game. It's so fun!